So I wasn't really planning on doing this, but what the heck is going on in The Witcher? I've got like halfway through this episode, maybe a little bit further, and I'm just at this point where I feel like I need to almost just rant about it or something. I feel like with The Witcher, they're being kind of disingenuous to what it's supposed to be. And when you think of all the Henry Cavill drama beforehand of arguing with the creators of the show and the direction they're taking it in, it really brings it into perspective when you start watching this show, like especially at this stage, season 3. I remember the first season being pretty damn good. I mean, obviously it's not perfect, not flawless, but it felt like the stories were more contained around what the Witcher would probably be doing. I'm not too familiar with the book series or the video game series, but I kind of am familiar with it to the degree that I've heard enough about it and I've seen enough source material as well as friends and played the games. And I'm pretty sure they're not getting what they kind of want from this. This is like, it's so painful. I know these shows are kind of going this direction at the moment, but it feels like they're going well off course. It's so ideological. Like, what is happening? And anyway, this episode, for example, Ciri, this is the third episode where she's been multiple times told now to stay out of trouble, keep a low profile. You are basically the most wanted person on the planet and potentially the most important person on the planet. You determine the fate of what's to come. You're very important. So why is she freaking left alone all the time and like abandoned at this stage in the third episode? And when she was with other people, she'd constantly be running off. You know, when you see these movies or these TV shows where they just don't have a smart way to write the characters or a good way to get a decent plot. So they just basically make the characters take the dumbest decisions possible so then something can happen. That's been happening a lot. There was the maze bit. I think that was the previous episode, or maybe the one before that. I think it's the first episode. She sort of like wanders off into the maze. Oh, we got to do this. She wants to go to the festival in the first place when she's supposed to be keeping a low profile. Oh, it's okay. We'll wear a mask. And her mask is literally like putting this thing in front of her face. But if anyone looks slightly beyond this thing, you can see her face in its entirety. Like, they spent the whole time having to move house over and over and over because she keeps getting caught, and then she goes into a position where she can get caught as easily as possible and get everyone else killed around her. Like, this character is so hard to sort of get behind. And I don't know what you guys are feeling with the show. Obviously, the show should be about Geralt, but you get to see him probably about 5 minutes every episode. Like, there was this bit, I think it's either the previous episode, it's just like, oh, okay, now we're finally getting to Geralt. And it'll be like him sort of slowly creeping around these corridors in this castle. And you think, okay, we're going to get to something good here. And you get that for about 2 minutes. And then it's back to about 20 minutes of freaking Yennefer and Ciri complaining about like their feelings and just how hard it is to not act on things. Like, Ciri doesn't seem to understand that there are consequences for her actions, like freeing people. Sure, this one kid might be in trouble, but now you freed that one kid, you've pissed off this one guy who's now going to send off a whole bunch of thugs to then ruin the whole town and village. Like, she's had multiple examples now of this kind of thing occurring because of trying to do the right thing. And once again, she's going into the position of trying to do the right thing. And in this episode, this is where I just got so pissed off. I had to just make something. Like, she's being spoken to by this character, and instead of keeping a low profile and just not saying anything, she goes and says something like, oh, you have no idea the trouble I've been in. Like, why are you even saying anything? Shut the hell up.
Trouble.
Not if you've lived my life.
She says, not if you've lived my life, and then looks her point blank in the eyes. You can clearly see her face. You don't know who this person is. She could be like a secret assassin looking for this person, or someone that's hired by someone to find Ciri. Like, why are you trying to go out of your way to get yourself in trouble? Like, it's so hard to follow these shows when they're written so badly. Like, come on, it's the dumbest, lowest common denominator. It's just like the kid that's been told to sit in a car by the adult. Do not leave this car. Stay in this car. Stay the hell in this car. Do not leave this car for a split second. And then the moment the adult leaves the car, the kid is like, I'm bored now, gonna go outside the car, and then immediately gets like caught by someone. Just, it's so. Mm.
Sounds like a challenge.
Like, why? Look, you can clearly see this person. If you were to just look at them, they look dangerous. They've got like this kind of thug hairstyle. She could be an assassin. Later on, she throws a knife at her. Like, what is happening here?
Okay.
And then this bit here, like, you've got a beast in here. Now, rather than let this guy go on with his show and just sort of say, hello, this is a dangerous beast. It is what it is. And just keep your low profile. She goes at every opportunity to try to counter him and say, that's not a basilisk. That's a wyvern. Or that wyvern isn't happy. It's sad. It's clearly misfed. And it's not being looked after properly. So what ends up happening is she fights with the guy who's trying to put on the show. And then rather than just keep your mouth shut and let the show go on and then get out, she causes a ruckus. The wyvern then is let loose. And the smartest thing she decides to do after complaining about the wyvern being hungry is kill the damn thing. Well, that's great. Real. Just genius. Just, this poor wyvern. It's struggling. It's hungry and all that. Okay, I'll just kill it. Like, she clearly didn't plan to kill it. She only killed it because she let the damn thing loose, and then it was causing such a ruckus that by the time it was about to kill her, because she let it go in the first place, she ends up having to stab it. It wasn't like this is a mercy stabbing. This is just, I effed up and I'm gonna stab this. But she never seems to learn from her character's flaws, and then she gets screwed over by that person who steals her money, and then right after she gets in trouble here with this character, like, Yennefer is just around the corner. Oh, that was convenient to rescue her. I thought this is like a whole village and stuff like that, and she keeps leaving her. She should be looking after her like so close, keeping such a close eye on her. Just freaking put her in chains or something at this point. Like, she's got a death wish, this Ciri character. But I don't know. There's so few scenes with Geralt, and he really does do a great job in the scenes that he's in. He stays so much more close to what you would think the character would be. As someone who doesn't watch the show or is unfamiliar with the show, you can feel it being grounded when you're watching Geralt in these scenes. Like, you can feel the person taking it seriously. But any other scene that he's not in with the other characters, it feels like a soap drama or like or part of a comedy show. It feels off. I don't know how else to describe it, but it doesn't feel like I'm watching the same show anymore. It's like it's been directed by two people or something. Like, the second part is any scene where he's not in, it's almost like to send a message or something like that about good versus bad or morality and all this kind of stuff. But it's like modern sense morality rather than the time period that they're living in to do the right thing or to get by. And it throws you off because part of it's a fantasy, but part of it has to be grounded as well for it to be believable. So I don't know. Like, I'm struggling to get through this show now. I don't know where you guys are sitting on this. There's 2 more episodes, and I think I turned it on to 1.5 speed. It's the first time I've done that. I was just like, and I can't even go to 2 times speed. I can listen to stuff at 2 times speed, and it doesn't even let me. I was thinking about doing that for the rest of it because I'm kind of stubborn, so I feel like I just have to watch the rest of the show. But when you sort of feel like you're just trying to rush for it anyway, like, I started watching these Korean shows now. So many of them, like after Squid Games and that. There's 2 really good ones, Bloodhounds and Sanctuary. Sanctuary has the most difficult first episode and second episode to get through. It's a very hard one to recommend, but once you get through those episodes, my God, it really starts kicking in. Because the main character, protagonist, is so unlikable. Like, it is really hard. It's almost like The Witcher in this, where there's a lot of unlikable characters. But he learns. Whereas in this, they don't learn. So many examples, so many people hurt. And they just keep doing the same things. Why? Well, I don't know. Like, what do you guys think about it? Which I wasn't even going to do this, but I don't know. I'm going to put this out there, and you let me know what you think about this. Like, so many of these shows are sort of going down the pan, like the Star Trek stuff. So much of that is the ideology is like kicking in to sort of just destroying what is the sensibility of the show, rather than I don't know. It's just with all the Disney stuff lately, like it just feels like these shows are made, obviously not for me, and I don't know whether they're made for you either. I just genuinely want to gauge other people's feelings, whether I'm just in the wrong here or in the right. I have no idea, but it doesn't feel like they're doing the right thing by the show. And that goes for these other shows. The show that they're trying to represent, it feels like they're being disingenuous and they're just pushing their own ideology, and it's very off-putting because it doesn't feel like they're doing the right thing for the fans and for them. They're just doing it for themselves. That's basically what it is. All right. Well, have a good one. Let me know what you think. This series is trash at the moment, and I don't know if it's going to get better.